Okay, it's 6:01. We are here for a tree protest at for the location of South North Railroad, current property. Want to go around, I'm Chris Torrey, I'm the tree warden.
Stephen Ivan, Housing Development Project Manager for the City of Norwalk, or for the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency, sorry.
Paul Stetnick, Senior Civil Engineer with the Department of Public Works and Deputy Tree Warden.
Sarah Cruz, arborist, horticulturist for the Department of Parks and Rec, and Paul and I are both deputy tree wardens.
Members from the public, introduce yourselves.
I'm Paul Fox.
Okay.
And I'm Tanner Thompson, and I am the chair of the Bike Walk Commission for the city.
Hello, Tanner, and hello, Paul. Thank you for coming. Before we start, I want to read a letter that was forwarded to me today from Diane Lorcella. Attention Norwalk Tree Warden, please enter the following email into the record for this hearing. I've been made aware of a challenge to the removal of 10 city trees at the above mentioned locations. I have that you reconsider the South Norwalk area does not have because the South Norwalk area does not have adequate canopy of mature trees to provide enough shade to reduce the heat island effect. I've always been a proponent of the removal of diseased trees. Therefore, if any of the trees truly fit that category so as to pose a threat to life and limb, please remove either of the damaged parts, branches, etc., or the entire tree. Please try to preserve as many of the 10 identified trees from the acts. Diane Lorcella.
You said your name was Paul Fox.
Paul Fox.
Fox, okay. We received a written protest from Paul Riley from 1 Chestnut Street at apartment 307. And that was the reason that we were having the hearing, because we were not able to make contact with Mr. Riley. We tried to reach him a couple of times by email that he provided, and we were not able to reach him. We also went and knocked on the door at his house, and he was not available there too. So basically, I can go in and explain the project if you would like.
First, are you guys definitely protesting the removal of the trees? Or is this just a discussion on trees?
But we'd like to find, I mean, Paul can speak for himself. I think we're aligned. We've talked a lot between the two of us. We'd like to see the trees safe, but we also want to kind of learn about the process here.
Okay.
This is the first time engaging with it. So yeah, I can.
All right, so let Paul go give his presentation and then you guys can go from there with questions.
Okay, basically, the plans that were put together for this project, it was a project down at the railroad station that is a TOD project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the plan over to make it easier for everybody to see. And this was the actual title sheet for the project that was approved and put out to bid. This TOD project is what it was. It was South Norwalk Infrastructure Project. Transit-oriented development, infrastructure improvements. And as part of that project, we ended up having to create a new road that connects Henry Street Extension to Monroe Street. And in doing that, as part of the TOD project, in order to get the island out, in order to get the space in so that we've got the room that we need in order to have the actual dimensions, and I'm going to pull another plan up in a minute, in order to get the lanes, which I can show that one, but in order to get those in, you needed to take out the existing island, and as part of that were the trees. You've got a tree there. One of the issues also with the redevelopment that Spinnaker is doing down there is our roadway standards require 50 feet between the driveway. The driveway for Spinnaker is here. The existing driveway for the railroad station is over here, so it had to be moved, which puts one of the trees directly in the driveway. And it's going to be the new driveway, or actually the new entrance for the road of Station Place off of Henry Street Extension. Then there were also.
It's currently just the driveway.
It's
no street.
It is currently a driveway for the railroad station. There is no street there at all. And one of the things was to create this street called Station Place. And as I mentioned, we can take a look at it. And then on the other plan, we've actually got a bus lane, and then there's an 11 and a 10-foot lane that's going to be going through here. But as part of that, also, you have the utility work that's being done to underground the existing overhead utilities. And there's 3 parts to this project. One is going to be this utility work. Another one is a soil remediation, and another portion of the site. And then the third project is a streetscape project, which we'll talk about in a minute over there. But to put the historic streetlights in and the conduits, you have to run the underground conduits, and it's directly under 3 of the trees that exist there today. So I've labeled these trees, and you end up having tree 1 is the 14-inch oak, tree 2, 17, and tree 3 is an 18-inch oak. Tree 4 is a multi-stem crabapple, and then so forth down the line. Each one of the trees is labeled. And I can go through them. Basically, you end up with tree number 5 is an 8-inch crab apple. Tree number 6 is a multi-stem 10-4. Tree number 7 is a 7.5-inch crab apple. Tree number 8 is a 16-inch honey locust, and 8, 9, and 10 are out on Henry Street Extension. Number 9 is a 17-inch honey locust that's in poor condition. And then number 10 is a 15-inch honey locust that has some issues. It is poor condition. At this point, I can pull up the other plan so that it's easy for everybody to see. And I'm gonna go over to the one in the corner.
One other note, Paul. So we have 3 of the trees are in poor condition. This honey locust, and this third honey locust have decay and other conditions that we would consider to be in poor condition. So
You mind pointing out which ones those are on that?
8, 9, and 10.
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, and 10 are the ones on Henry Street Extension for the streets.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry.
One of the things that'll make it easier to see too, and I'm gonna pull this over here, that'll be the easiest way to do it for everybody to see, is this is another layout of basically the same thing. Station Place between Henry Street Extension and Monroe Street. As you come in, the island is in orange. The yellow is the proposed curb lines that'll be going in. The trees are in orange. And the other item that I was talking about is the bus lane is 10 feet wide. You get an 11-foot travel lane. And then even if you had just the 11-foot lane, you're 5 feet into the island in order to get the configuration in, because this is going to become a city street rather than having the current configuration the way it is. It's basically a driveway that has multiple areas that are going into it. And the whole point of this project, it's a transit-oriented development. So you want people to come to use the mass transit at the train station, and they'd be parking their cars and trying to do it safely, drop people off in the bus zone, those areas, but yet keep the traffic going through instead of having a driveway where there's a little bit of chaos today. The whole point is to try and make it safer and easier for the people to use, so that they'll use the railroad station for the transit-oriented development project. Once the third project is started, because I mentioned 2 projects. Number 1 was the utility. Number 2 was the soil remediation that needs to be done as part of the project. The third is the proposed conceptual plan for the replanting. And on the conceptual plan for the replanting, there are in the streets for what would be the streetscape project that is still being final designed, we would put 41 trees in on Chestnut Street, Henry Street Extension, and also on Monroe Street. On Station Place in this area, and then there are 9 trees that would be done by the developer. So that's the proposed. So for 10 trees coming out, we'll be putting a total of 41 through the city streetscape and another 9 through the developer, which would be a total of 50 trees. So with the numbers that I had given you on the size of the maps, for the sizes of the trees on the maps that we had, you end up with 126.5 inches for the 10 trees is what it totals. And with our current city ordinance, we need to replace inch for inch, which is what we aim to do. So the 41 and the 950 trees, 3-inch diameter trees would go back. That gives you 150. So we'll be replacing more than what we took out. And that's pretty much it for the overall project. And I know Stephen's from redevelopment, and they've been working with this project. If you've got anything to add to that, Miss Stephen, I'll let you
Nope, that's the summary of it, with the approved site plans and to make the road functional, the trees need to come out, we replace them, like Paul said, in excess of what's there now. And I think Paul's given a good enough summary.
Any questions?
I have any questions. No questions. Do you guys have any questions?
I've got plenty of questions. But, yeah, shall I start?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can we bring up that map?
Set that table here.
Just so we know, this is about the trees, not about the roadway, right? So we're discussing the trees being removed, not the project of the roadway. That's the purpose of the meeting.
Sure, yeah, and, I mean, I see them as tightly linked.
Well, they're not tightly linked. There are 10 trees that are posted for removal, and that's what you guys are protesting. And the project's at the project. It's been approved. It's not going to change.
For whoever is going to speak, can you just state your name for the record?
Sure, yeah, shall I start? Paul, go for it. Yeah, my name's Tanner Thompson, for the record. I'll start with questions that are very explicitly about the trees, and then if I'm crossing a line, you let me know. These 3 trees are the oaks, right?
Yes.
Numbers 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3 are the oaks. And I'll just point 1, 2, and 3. And just so you know, there are 2 other trees that are called to be protected. Those trees fell into the area here and here. So those trees are being maintained. It's just the one in the driveway that's this one that has to come out at that point, and then the others down where the island gets removed.
Gotcha.
So where we could save the trees and protect them, we've done that.
And they're designated as, sorry, they're designated as circles on that plan,
These
correct?
2. And this is the cut for the driveway going into the development from the new road called Station Place. So this tree is right in the middle of the driveway. These 2 would fall in the area that are over here, and over here.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I didn't catch that. I reviewed the plans that were on the planning and zoning website and didn't catch that detail. Essentially, that's what I was going to ask. Is there any way that some of the oaks can be saved because they're great shade trees? And I'm glad that you
Good
did.
question.
And we tried where we could.
And we always do. Just, you guys might not be aware of this, but last year and the year before, we planted more trees as a municipality than we removed.
Oh, yeah, and we were
Which
out
is
there
a
cheerleading.
huge thing.
521 trees last calendar year.
I think we're shooting for 1,000 trees this year.
600. 600. And we planted 221 this spring.
So to be absolutely clear, I didn't come, and I think that Paul didn't come either to like make a ruckus. Like I said,
No.
we're trying to understand the process. Again, sorry, you should speak for yourself. I spent a lot of time at South Norfolk Station, and I really appreciate the shade these trees give. And so I came today to ensure that everything that was being done to retain the mature shade trees, I'm using that term, could be saved, we're saved, and it seems like that is the case, so I appreciate it.
You know, as a municipality, we get the enormity of removing, say, a 30-inch or an 18-inch, in this case, oak tree that's developed and offers shade and reduces the heat island effect. We don't want to remove those trees that there's nothing wrong with. Unfortunately, this project, in my opinion, for the public betterment, is worth the removal of the trees without being too upfront about it. You follow me?
Well, yeah, there's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
And I'm a software engineer, so
Okay.
I deal in trade-offs all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess I think I've spoken my truth. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of here. I didn't realize about the 2 trees that were being saved, but my concern was just that, like, even if new trees are planted, like, it'll be several decades before they provide the same amount of shade that the existing mature trees do. And I was concerned that these are almost all the trees, mature trees in the vicinity of the station. And I think especially for people who ride the bus like me, like having a nice place to wait for the bus is important, and it would be pretty unpleasant without any trees.
And that's why one of the things with the developer and also in this area, I can go over to the overall plan here and I can pull this out and make it a little easier to see. You know what, I'm gonna use your chair. I'm gonna use Stephen for that one. So basically, all of these are existing trees that are gonna remain down at Henry Street, the bigger ones. Anything that's a larger circle, the smaller circles are all of the ones that are proposed to be replaced as part of the streetscape project in there. So there will be some trees added in this area. And the goal is to try and keep what we could here, but yet try and fill in areas that are kind of barren of trees right now. And also work around the street lights that are gonna be replaced, because that's that corner where 8, 9, and 10 are coming out of.
Paul, I understand the utilities and I do understand the plan, but was there any thought given to particularly those oak trees? The crab apples, I get what they are, let's be honest, but the 3 oaks are of what I think everybody's been concerned of, myself included. So when you did the plan, was there any other way? Like, for instance, could the city have spent more money to redo the plan to save the trees? Was that a thought?
It was, but not really. And the reason you can't is because this has to become a road in order for these people to have access here and meet the zoning requirements, which is all part of the redevelopment plan down there. And in order for this to become a road, you have to meet certain horizontal curb criteria as well as the vertical curb criteria, because this drops off quite a bit down to Monroe Street. So you needed, in order to have the sight lines for the new raised crosswalk that's going to be in there, you needed to have enough sight lines to be able to get that in there. And in order to do that, you couldn't really try and save these islands at all. And the biggest thing with these trees over here, which is 1, 2, and 3, which are the oaks, is the driveway cut. And that's the issue, is the driveway cut, getting in, and they need access off of the new street.
And you would cut the roots in.
And yeah, the roots would have been cut. If you were to, basically, you can see where the yellow line is, all of this would have ended up having to come out. And basically, the 3 lanes takes you over to where my pencil is, which puts you down the middle of the island anyway. So to get the lanes of traffic, and one of the things that's going on here is there's gonna be a dedicated bus lane, which there's not now currently. So you'll have the bus lane and the 2 lanes of traffic, but to get those 2 lanes in, it puts you over here. And like you said, mind you, we're currently in a driveway situation, and it's gonna become an actual city street to be able to accommodate all of this. So yes.
So that's basically the
Everything-
requirement that drove all of this.
Everything that could be done, to answer Chris's question, yes, there was nothing else, because if you were to try and put a curve over here to get around the trees, you'd be going up almost into the sidewalk of the railroad station. Or not use a bus lane, which once again, in a TOD design, you're trying to get the transit, to get the people to the mass transit with the train.
Yeah, we're definitely in favor of the bus lane. Like, that's probably the coolest, most forward-thinking part about all of this, in my opinion. Maybe that gets swept under the rug by most people. Obviously, the housing next to transit, big fan of that too.
One of the issues too was sidewalks. A lot of people used it as a road and a cut through, right? If you're walking down Henry Street Extension north, you're gonna cut through the train station to get to Monroe Street instead of walking down to Chestnut.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So it's a safety thing too, because now there'll be sidewalks on both sides for all of
Yeah,
foot traffic, scooters.
We absolutely need those.
Yes.
I'm right there with you. I chair the commission for walking.
I just thought, like, I did it like a pros and cons of the project to, and the benefit to the public, as opposed to, in my opinion, the removal of the 3 oaks, which is a huge thing.
Yeah. The driving force, the other driving force that brought me to the meeting, and this is why I said that in my mind that the plan and the trees are inextricably linked, is because of the decision for the parallel parking. Right, that seems like the most negotiable part of the street, right? We need the bus lane, we obviously need a travel lane in each direction, we need a sidewalk on both sides. But if there's a value judgment being made between like 1 big oak tree or 3 parking spots, like I would argue as a member of the public that the oak tree is more valuable than 3 parking spots. We have 800 parking spots in the garage already. So, but obviously there's a lot of considerations that I'm not an expert on, which is why I can't And I guess I'm
The
most
problem
wondering,
is in order to, even if you took the parking spaces out, you've still got the 3 lanes, and with the 3 lanes, you end up 5 feet into the island, which puts you down in there, and you're gonna go right through or cut all the roots of the trees anyway.
so the crab apples, kind of like you were saying, Chris, I'm not as concerned about crab apples, right?
That's-
Those will grow back quicker if we wanted to replace them as is, right? But it's this oak right here, I guess, is the one that I would, if there's time to hear more details, I would love to hear more details on why this one is.
Well, one of the reasons is.
That is an oak, right?
There's
It's
a
number-
there's an oak.
number
That
3.
is gonna be number 3.
Yeah.
There's a catch
That's a
basin.
14 inch oak.
It's a 14-inch oak, yes, number 3.
18.
18. Number 3 is an 18-inch oak, yes. The rectangle that you see on the drawing right there represents the drainage. It's the catch basin, and you've got to get that catch basin in, and you'll see there's one down here too. You got to get the catch basin in at the low points and this, and I've got other drawings, but this is a vertical curve that does this. So you want to, there's a cross slope to the road, so you're gonna get it where it's gonna run down. You got this corner, and then back on this corner is where all the water is gonna pool. And so you've got to put a catch basin in these 2 locations, and in order to do that, you've got the oak.
I think you just hit engineering bingo. All the terms.
Yeah, no, drainage is definitely the one which gets undervalued a lot, so
And the roadway has to conform to city roadway standards.
Exactly. It's got to conform to the roadway standards, and even if you were to move this up a little bit, you're right in the middle of the crosswalk, and now you have a catch basin
Oh,
right
yeah.
at the crosswalk.
so this is the second, this is the existing problem.
That is the
It
existing.
gets reinstalled.
And that'll be there. Okay, I didn't notice it because this one
Get that
painted
one.
on it, right? This is gonna be a raised crosswalk, you said?
Yeah.
But the existing one won't be converted to it.
There will be 2 crosswalks in this area based on this proposed plan.
So would it be infeasible, Paul, to essentially just take this very southernmost parallel parking spot away, move the catch basin to immediately next to the raised crosswalk?
If you take this away, either you move it up here.
Yeah.
We have to put the catch basin up here, because remember, this is a vertical curve coming down.
Yeah.
With the slope of the road doing this, so you'll
Yeah.
end up with the pool of water right there.
Oh, that's the low point as opposed to here?
This has been made the low point away from the crosswalk. If you take that out, you slide it up, you put the catch basin in the low point right near the crosswalk, which
And it's not possible to make the low point right here.
then you've got a catch basin right at the entrance of this. Remember, this is a raised
And that's too close
crosswalk.
to the raised crosswalk?
Exactly.
I see.
So, yeah, no, we've gone through and done all the design work and looked at it, and it's really, with working with VHB, you heard this from me, we looked at everything we can do basically to do that. That's
You can't
not
put
what
the catch basin on the other side of the street.
we could, but remember, the cross slope of the road is like this. So what
Oh, so it's
happens?
still gonna pool here.
You're gonna get a pool here.
So what happens to all the water on this side of the street? Are there other
There's
things?
existing drainage and it grades down, so there are areas. We've looked at everything we can look at.
Well, thanks for bringing me up to speed. Appreciate it. Again, I'm not here to try and throw shade or second guess people. I do want to understand the process. And I think I've understood a lot better. Do you have anything else?
I think that answered my questions.
Really glad that you're keeping those 2 oaks.
Thank you. So it is now 6:25, and just so you know how this works, Mr. Fox did not come. He was the person who originally protested the tree.
Mr. Riley.
Mr. Riley, you're Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Riley, is not here, so I will post my decision on the tree, and there'll be a public posting with my decision as well. In the next 3 days, I believe have, and then, you have, or not, anyone has 10 days, Mr. Riley, to, appeal my decision to state superior court.
As we mentioned, we tried to contact Mr. Riley a couple of times, and he did not respond to any of the time. We explained everything to him in writing, and we never heard back from him at all.
So just out of interest in understanding how the process works, was Mr. Riley's, was there more content to his complaint, or was it just like,
I
I
can
want there to
answer,
be a hearing.
I can answer that. Basically, he was concerned at the fact that the plans did not show the trees being removed. It showed them to be protected, but he was referring to the incorrect set of plans. He was referring to the brownfield plans, and the brownfield plans did call for them to be protected because they were gonna be kept as long as possible, but taken out in this project. And you can see very clearly on this set of plans, which is the plans for this particular project. As remember me mentioning, there was 3 projects.
Mhm.
He referenced the incorrect project.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Lean?
Yep,
6:26.
have a great night.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll stop it here. See.
You want me to put this back up, Paul, or do you want me to?
Pause.